Hello everyone, I am welcoming you all to the session 3 of Unit 4 Design. In the previous sessions, we discussed about the structural charts, how structural charts can be used in the function oriented design, and also we discussed about the different modules that comes under the structural charts. Now we'll discuss in this session about the structured design methodology. That is organization of this session. Introduction to structured design methodology. Steps involved in structured design methodology. Structured design methodology commonly termed as SDM. Introduction to structured design methodology. SDM is a method for developing the software system designs. It is one of the popular method for developing a softwares. The basic principle in the structured design methodology is problem partitioning. We all know that we are not developing a entire software in a one shot. Instead of that, we are defining we are dividing a problem definition or the software into a multiple parts or the multiple modules, so that each and every modules will be executed or developed in a simultaneous way. So how we are partitioning the problem here is, we are partitioning the problem at the top level and into our various subsystems. Here also in the structured design methodology, it partitions the system at the top level into various subsystems, and each subsystems performs its own task. For example, the partition may helpful in managing the input systems, major input systems, major output systems, or it also helpful in defining the transformations. The modules or the partitions dealing with the input messages manages the issues of the screens, reading the data formats, errors, exceptions, completeness of the information, and the structure of the informations. As we all know that while defining the modules, we are partitioning the modules either into a input module or the output module or the transformation module. When we say it is an input modules, it has to manage us with the screen issues, or the main is reading the data into a comfortable formats, or it is helpful in identifying the errors or any possible exceptions. It should also check for the completeness of the information and also whether the information is in the suitable structure or not. Coming to the output modules, the modules dealing with the output have to prepare the output in the presentation formats, make the charts, and produce the reports. Few times the modules will be producing the output which will be not be in the presentable format. That is, only the system will be able to produce the output. That output may not be in the presentation format. So now it is the duty of the modules that has to bring the output into a presentation formats, make a better understandable by making use of the charts like bar charts or the pie charts, and also produce the reports so that it can be easily understood by all the end users. And also modules dealing with the actual transformations always deals with getting it into a proper format for the output and transforming the particular data and producing the formats or producing the output in the desirable form by making a suitable processing. So while transformation also, we should think of getting the data in the proper format and applying a proper logic. We are transforming the data that is suitable in all the applications. Now, importantly, we'll study what are all the steps involved in the SDM. Mainly, there are 4 steps. First step, restate the problem as a data flow diagram. In the first step, the problem defined in the previous sections will be restated as in the form of data flow diagram. Since a data flow diagram mainly indicates how the data will be flow between different modules or the different structures, it is very helpful that we have to restate the problem in terms of DFTs. After restating the problem, the step 2 is we should identify the input and the output data elements. Since it is a very crucial thing in every problem, we should identify the input and the output data elements. Third step, we should do the first level factoring. That is, first level factoring is identifying the modules that are required for the software development. Fourth step, factoring of the input, output and the transform the branches. The output from the first level factoring may not be in the suitable form for the further accessing. So what we have to do is the output of the third step has taken as an input, and further we can apply the factoring of input, output and transform the branches. We'll study all these steps in the detail. First step, restate the problem as a data flow diagram. As I know that data flow diagram clearly indicates how the data is flow between different modules. In this methodology, first we have to construct the data flow diagram of the problem. Usually the problem will be given from the previous step. Now in the SDM, the first step is we have to restate or we have to reorganize the problem statement in a way, such a way that we can construct a data flow diagram out of it. DFT during a design represents how the data will flow in the system when it is built. It clearly shows with the help of the arrow marks how the data will be stored. And this modeling, the major functions in the softwares are decided, and DFT shows the major transforms. Here, what are all the major functions? Suppose if you take a calculator as a simple example, we should decide should we add the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, like this. How we can identify the major functions that are needed, and how DFT shows how we can transform this into a better way. Now we'll see one example how we can write a data flow diagram of the ATM. If you could see in the diagram, mainly we are considering two inputs. The two input here is get account number and the code. So every user should be having a account number and the code. So before doing anything or before accessing anything, we should validate the account number and the code. So the validation will be usually done with the help of a system database. The system database checks whether the given user or the given account number is a valid or not. So it will check. Validation means it will check whether it is a proper or not. If it is validated, then it goes to a retrieve account record. It will retrieve or it will access the account record. We have also have the another input get dollar amount. If it is a valid one, we can get the dollar amount that will be debited in the account. So it says that first we have to enter a proper account number and the code. After the validation with the system database, we can retrieve the account record. Account record will be in the account database. Once it is validated, the amount recorded, amount entered will be in the debit amount in forms of the get dollar amount. These are the different modules like validate, get dollar amount, retrieve the amount record. These are the different modules that has been constructed in the ATM. So after the debit account module, we can also record the transaction. What are all the transaction that is being done. Always this transaction record will be present in the log activity or the log details. So after debiting the amount, it has to update. So and so amount has been debited to your account. So this diagram shows that how we have identified different modules or the units. Each will be having its own functions and how they are connected to each other, and how the data will be flowing from one module to the another module. If you see, these arrow marks will indicate how the data will be flowed, and this asterisk or star marks identify the multiple transactions, That is, first the account number will be validated. After the validation, we can retrieve the respective record and the amount will be debited with a particular dollar amount. After the completion of the transaction, it will be recorded in the log activity. After it is recorded, it will update the account. So this diagram shows that how we can write a data flow diagram for a simple ATM transaction. With respect to the diagram, we'll see what are all the major inputs and the outputs and the transforms that we can see. Here, there are two major streams of the data input in the diagram. As we see that, first is the account number and the code, and the second is the amount that to be debited. If you could see here, there are two things, two input streams. First is a get account number code and the second is a debit account. So these are the two major input data that we can see, that is account number and the code, and second is the amount to be debited. The transform validate, which verifies if the account number codes are valid or not. See, here there is a validate function which validates whether the entered account number is right or not. Transform debit account has two outputs, one used for recording the transaction, other is to update the account. If you could see here, debit account will be having a two output streams. One is to record the transaction that is being done and another is to update the account after the complete transaction is done. Second step, identify the most abstract input and output data elements. In the second step, what we are doing is, the input is first converted into a form on which the transaction can be applied easily. What happens few times is, even though we get an input, in the format of the input may differ, and for that format we are not able to apply the transformation easily. So what exactly it is it is difficult to get the input and the output in the desired form. So in this step, we are converting into a form where the transformations can be applied easily. So after applying the transformations, like the transformations may be an error checking or the data validation or checking for the proper formats, or the complete formation is done, we can directly apply the transformation so that it can be easily accessed. Main transformation modules produce the outputs that have to be converted into a desired physical output. As we all know that it is also very difficult, or it is very much needed to produce the output in a desired physical output that can be easily understood by all the applications. So after the separation of the input and output to the desired formats, very important, it is not about getting the input and the output. Our main aim is to get the both input and the output in the desired format, so that the data flow diagram what we have constructed is ready to identify the highest abstract level of input and the output. So after getting the input and the output in the format which we needed, the DFT will be ready so that we can identify the abstract levels of inputs and the outputs. Now we'll see what are all the different data forms and how we can get the abstract form of input and the output. First we'll see input data transform. So the abstract input data elements are those data elements that are removed from the physical inputs but can still be considered as an input to the system, meaning that here we have to identify the abstract input. The abstract means it is almost going to vanish, or it is almost removed from the physical inputs but can still be considered as an input to the system at this point. So the most abstract input elements can be recognized by starting from the physical inputs and traveling towards the output in the data flow diagram. In the data transfer, we have to identify the abstract data inputs that can be identified by moving from the physical input traveling towards the output and in the data flow diagram. So we have to identify the abstract data elements by moving from upper level to the lower level. So it is almost vanished or removed from the physical inputs but can still be considered as an input to the system. This is the way we have to identify the abstract input data elements. Output data transforms. The abstract output data elements are identified by starting from the outputs and traveling towards the input. As we are dividing into our different modules, the abstract output means that is almost vanishing data output, and those elements are identified. We have to identify those elements by moving or passing from all the outputs and traveling towards the inputs, and that particular output can be actually removed from the outputs but still can be considered as an outgoing. Since we make use of the word abstract, it has actually been removed from the outputs, but this point still can be used as an considered outgoing. So this is the way we have to identify the most abstract output data. In both the input data transform as well as the output data transform, we have to identify the most abstract input elements that are removed from the physical inputs that can still be used as an input, as well as in the abstract they are removed from the output and we are traveling towards the input, but that farthest removed can also be considered as an outgoing. With the help of these two transformation, we are able to identify the abstract input data elements and the abstract output data elements. Now, central transforms. It performs the basic transformation for the system by taking the most abstract input and transforming it to the most abstract output. As we seen in the previous slide, the output of these transforms are, we got the most abstract input data element and most abstract output data element. Now the central transforms takes or it performs a basic transformation. It takes an input from the previous step, that is output of the previous step hasn't taken as an input here. It takes the most abstract input from the input transform step and transforming into the most abstract output for the abstract output transform. So it is a central transform which will be taking care of the transformation of the input in the output into a most suitable form. The third step in the SDM is first level factoring. In the first level factoring, our primary goal is to identify the modules of the system. Here we identify the modules, units or the functions that are required for the system. The main module purpose is to invoke the subordinates, and it is a coordinate module. There will be a main modules as well as a sub modules. The main purpose of the main module is to invoke the subordinates, and it will coordinate all the functions with respect to the subordinates. Input module purpose is to deliver to the main module the most abstract data item for which it is created. So input module is intended to provide a input to the main module, that is nothing but a most abstract input data. After performing all the operations in the main module, the output module accepts the data from the main module. Let us take an example of first level factoring for the ATM. That is, we have taken the same example where we wrote a where we wrote a diagram for the ATM. That is where we wrote a design diagram for the ATM. Here we are writing a first level factoring, because this is a third step in the STM. In the previous steps we also wrote the ATM diagram. Here we are considering a first level factoring of the same diagram. So here we can find a different modules, because the first level factoring mainly intended for identifying the modules. Here we can see the main modules, and these are the subordinate modules, that is get account number, get dollar amount, retrieve account record, debit account, update the account, record transition. So see, these are all the same modules that has been identified in the DFT design of the ATM. Here also we are same, but we are dividing into a different modules. There is a main modules here, and there is a subordinate modules. And we can also see the arrow mark from here to here, from main to the get account, and after that account there will also be arrow mark which is indicating towards the main. So it gives an input, and output will be again go to the main function. It will check whether it is a valid or not, and updates and retrieve the details and record the transaction. Everything will be done by a subordinates, and the particular data or the retrieved data will be stored in the main function. That is, this is done in the first level factoring. As per the diagram, the main module is an overall control module, we can say, which will form the main program or procedure in the implementation of the design. The main module is also called as a control module, which is mainly required for the implementation of the design. Along with the main module, we also have a coordinate module which invokes this input module to get the most abstract data items, and after getting the data items it will be passes to the appropriate transform modules and deliver the results. So once we get the input elements, we have to convert into appropriate formations or appropriate transforms modules, and then finally we have to deliver the required results. The fourth step in the SDM is factoring of input, output and transform branches. The output what we got in the previous level, that is the first level factoring, always results in a high level structure that is very difficult for the further processing. So in this step, in the fourth step, again to simplify these modules, they must be factored into a subordinate modules that will be helpful for distribute the work of a module. So the output of the previous step, that is factoring of the first level factoring, will always result in a high level structure. So that is a very difficult. We need a still modify or still simplify these modules. So when we simplify these modules, this must be factored into our subordinate modules, and all the works will be distributed among the modules. To factor an input module, the data item is treated as a central transform. So we get an input module, the data item is treated as a central transform. Again we can perform the first level factoring to the input module. So after the factorization of the main module, again we are considering the factorization of the input module. So factorization of the input module is done, then again the factorization of the output module done, and this is the way the first level factoring will be keep on repeating for all the high level modules that are present in the structure. Every time subordinate input module is created for each input data stream, and that can be factored again until the physical inputs are reached. As I said, there will be a continuous factoring of the input module, but till how long we can factorize means until we get the physical inputs, that is the most appropriate form of getting the inputs. Until we get the physical inputs, it will be keep on factorizing the input module. The way how we do the factorization of the input modules, the similar way can be applied to the output modules also. So what we say is the factoring of the output modules is symmetrical to the factoring of the input modules. Whenever the output module is complex or the high level structure, again this output module is considered as a central stream of the outgoing stream and again transform into a different levels. So till we get the physical outputs, we are keep on transferring or keep on factorizing the output module till we get the physical outputs. So from this we can see, what we can say is it is both are symmetrical to each other, that is factoring of the input modules are similar or symmetrical to the factoring of the output modules, and this particular process has to be repeated till we get the physical inputs or the physical outputs. With this, we'll discuss some of the questions. First question, the basic principle in structured design methodology is option A, problem partitioning, option B, managing, option C, analysis, option D, none of the above. As we know that SDM, that is structured design methodology, basically concentrates on problem partitioning or dividing the modules. So the best suitable answer here is option A, that is problem partition. So the managing and the analysis will be done at the next level, but the basic criteria in the design structure methodology is nothing but the problem partitioning. Second question, structured design methodology is an approach to design that adheres to principles such as option A, top-down refinement, option B, bottom-up design, option C, data flow analysis, option D, all of the above. So SDM is an approach where it follows data flow analysis mainly, because this structured design methodology mainly starts with developing DFDs or a data flow diagrams for the given problem. So the data flow analysis is an approach that are most commonly used in SDM. So top down refinement will not be used and bottom up design will not be used as in the structured design methodology. The first we are constructing the DFT of the given problem. So the best suitable answer here is option C, that is data flow analysis. Question number 3. System study involves option A, study of an existing system, option B, documenting the existing system, option C, identifying current deficiency and establishing new goals, option D, all of the above. We all know that a system study is also concentrates on existing system or documenting the existing system, identifying the current deficiencies and establishing the new goals to start with the new system. So system study always does all the three activities. So the best option here is option D, all of the above. Question number 4. The primary tool used in structured design is option A, structure chart, option B, data flow diagram, option C, program flow chart, option D, module. As we know that the primary tool used in structured design is structural chart. It mainly concentrates on how to write a structural chart for the given problem. Question number 5. First level factoring, also called as option A, module decomposition, option B, transformation, option C, modularization, option D, none of the above. We all know that first level factoring mainly concentrates on module decomposition, that is converting main functions into a subordinate functions where each function will be having its own functionality to perform. So the best suitable option here is option A, that is module decomposition. Question number 6. The sequence of steps involved in SDM are: first step, restate the problem as a data flow diagram. Second step, identify the input and the output data element. Third step, first level factoring. Fourth step, factoring of the input, output and the transform branches. So this is the flow of steps, that is option A 1 3 2 4, option B 1 2 3 4, option C 4 1 3 2 2, option D none of the above. We know this is the right sequence, so the option B 1 2 3 4. We have to restate the problem, identify the input and the output modules, do the first level factoring, and again since it is a high level, again we have to factor the input, output and the transform branches. So the best suitable answer here is answer B 1 2 3 4. Seventh question, DFT during design represents: option A, how the data will flow in the system, how the data is constructed, option C, both, option D, none of the above. So the best option here is, it clearly says DFTs is meant for how the data will be stored, flow in the system. It doesn't bother about how the data is constructed. It clearly says how the data can be flow from one system to the another system, or one module to the another module in the system. So the best suitable option here is option A. Question number 8. In the first level factoring, module invokes superordinate, module invokes output ordinate, module invokes subordinate, option D, none of the following. As we know in an example, the first level factoring of the ATM, the main function will call all the subordinate functions like account number, transactions, retrieve the account database. These are the subordinate functions, and main is a superordinate functions or the module. So the best option here is option C. The main module always invokes the subordinate modules. So best option here is option C. Ninth question. The first level factoring results in high level structure, option B, medium level structure, option C, low level structure, option D, none of the following. As we know that the first level factoring always results in high level structure. Again, this high level structure will be transformed in terms of input, output as well as transformations. So the best suitable answer here is A, high level structure. Question number 10. The factoring of the output module is symmetrical to the factoring of the input modules. Option A, true. Option B, false. Yes, it is true, because both are symmetrical or both are same. The process used in the factoring of the input modules is same as process used in the output module. So we can say it is symmetrical to each other. So the best suitable here answer here is answer A, that is true. Yeah. With this, we identify the different steps that are required in the SDM and how we can do a first level factoring by taking any practical examples. Thank you.